Hello, everybody. Angel Arts here, and welcome to Let's Play Chapter 3, the final chapter of Tell Me Why. I have been anticipating this since last week. These chapters have been flying once a week pretty much until we finally got the whole game, which I'm normally not used to with these episodic games. But I've been looking forward to this for us to finally see how everything comes together, how all of our decisions end up affecting whatever the fate of the twins are in the future, and etc., etc., etc. I'm really curious to see, especially how the choices in general end up panning out, because I do notice that every time you make a major choice, I want to call it North Star, they either click together or they pull apart, and I'm assuming that represents the relationship or the bond, the strength of the bond of the twins, whether they become closer together or if they become pulled apart. And I'm hoping, I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping that pushing them closer together does not necessarily automatically mean it's the quote-unquote best ending. Because I think that there's something to be said about the twins growing up and, just becoming not separate people, but different people with their own personal ideals, their own personal opinions. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything that your family believes in, or because I think that part of the beauty of the relationship with anyone, friends or family, is the ability for you to still remain close and to still love each other despite the differences that you may have. I'm not holding my breath. I feel like maybe if you end up, going towards the other extreme where you're always making decisions that pulls them apart, my guess is that's going to be the lesser happier of the endings. Hopefully that's not the case. I'd love for a game like this to surprise myself, because I feel like a game like this doesn't need a quote-unquote good ending or a bad ending, because I think you could still have a good ending regardless. What I think would be really difficult is if they're able to somehow create a good or satisfying ending if you're like somewhere in the middle. Because I think a lot of the decisions that I've been making have been more towards half of the time it's been pushing them together, but half of the time it's been pulling them apart. And I find that many games that has that sort of decision system built in, if you stay in the middle, you end up having the lackluster outcome, lackluster ending. Again, maybe this game will end up surprising me, because I feel like I'm moving towards that in-between direction. And I'd love to still have a satisfying ending regardless. So that being said, this is a blind Let's Play. I'm not going to promise you guys that I'm going to get the quote-unquote best ending, if there is such a thing as a best ending to this game. But it'll be my ending. It doesn't have to be the best ending, but it'll be my ending, and I will accept the consequences of my choices. The one choice that I do probably regret the most was my final choice near the end of the last playthrough, where I basically kind of guilt-tripped, emotionally blackmail Allison as Tyler, and basically mentioned, you're not going to do this after all I've done for you, after what I did for you. And I totally get that was a moment of weakness on Tyler's part. But thinking about it more since then, and you could probably argue this is me justifying it or being sour grapes about it or whatever. Sure, you can call it that. But I kind of, at the end of the day, liked that happened, because I think that many people who have played through this game has expressed that they clearly tend to favor Tyler over Allison in many ways, and I get why, because I think that between the two of them, Tyler tends to be the more sympathetic character because he's the one at the very beginning that was being interrogated by Eddie, and you thought he was the one that actually killed the mom, and then you later found out that it was actually worse. He didn't actually kill the mom. Allison was going to kill the mom, and he selflessly took the fall for his own sister and basically was punished or served time for something that he didn't do. Add on top of that everything that Tyler has been going through with dealing with his sexuality or his transition, and I can see why things seem to be heavily stacked in Tyler's favor more so than Allison. And so I personally don't like that because I really would have preferred a storyline that somehow was able to balance the two and make it a little bit easier for you to favor both twins, or at least have a harder time deciding which twin you might favor more or have more sympathy towards. Because right now it really does feel like the writers stacked it very much towards being in favor of Tyler. Now, I haven't finished the entire game yet, there's only one more chapter, but that's just how it seems to have been, especially since, many of the times when you're doing the memory choices, like which memory do you choose between these two versions of the memories, it seems like Allison is the one who, more so than Tyler, has to make the final call, and so that easily puts her in a pretty worse position, because she could just completely agree with Tyler, or she could decide that, I really feel like that my vision is right. And I hate that it seems like every time you disagree with your partner or your twin, the game almost seems to penalize you for that. Whereas if you had, if it was the reverse, and in that same situation it was Tyler who we were controlling, then the ball would have been on Tyler's court, and he would have been the deciding factor of whether or not, what the fate of their siblings' bond would be. So again, it feels, it feels unbalanced. Again, I haven't gone through the final chapter, so I'll probably speak on that again, on the balance. So these are just little observations that I noticed while playing the game. And I'm just curious to see how many of those, my, not fears, but how many of my, concerns, how much of that is actually going to be addressed by the time we reach the end of this. Because I think that, I feel for Allison a lot. I'm very sympathetic towards Allison because, yes, she was the one who killed the mom, and you could argue that Tyler got off, because of Tyler, she was able to get off scot-free. That doesn't mean that she doesn't feel any guilt for that. I'm sure she must feel amazing guilt for the fact that her brother ended up, taking the punishment for her instead. And you could also argue, again, we don't know the full story about the situation with her mom yet. I think we're getting closer and closer to that. But assuming, we probably will not know for sure, maybe we'll never know for sure what would have actually happened, but assuming that her mom would have legitimately shot Tyler, maybe because she was crazy or something was influencing her. I think the end of the last chapter was kind of alluding to the reason why, but tell me why, the reason why she was, brandishing a shotgun in front of her child. If she would have shot Tyler, you could argue that that Allison saved his life, that Allison prevented a terrible tragedy to befall on Tyler, and therefore maybe it's kind of even that Tyler took the fall for her because she technically saved his life. I don't know. You guys, we can debate about this back and forth, but again, these are just things that I've been thinking about in between the last episode and this episode that I just wanted to bring up before I began and completed this game once and for all. So let us That all being said, thank you for your patience. Let us continue. Let us continue indeed. I love these recaps.
Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, crafty goblins faced the truth about the darkness in the big wooden house.
It had come for the wise princess, driving her mad and causing her to attack them.
When they started asking questions about the princess in the darkness, the goblins realized that no one else in the forest wanted to know the truth.
So they dug and searched and asked hurtful questions, learning more about the wise princess than they had ever hoped to.
But the search took its toll. The darkness was proving too much for Sister Goblin, and yet Brother Goblin kept diving deeper and deeper until Sister Goblin finally said, enough.
Yeah.
And that was how the goblins found themselves separated again, hurt and confused, with so many unanswered questions and too many open wounds. Allison, wake up.
Oh. Oh, wow. Creepy dream. Flyers? Oh, Marianne's just kind of... I don't know. The end? You killed me. Yeah, that's gotta mess you up. You killed your mother. You killed me. You killed me. You will end up like me. Oh my goodness. Is this game gonna end with one of the twins dying? Because I feel like the game would go there. I would not put it past them to kill off at least one of the twins. Possibly depending on your choices. I don't know, guys. I don't know what's gonna happen. Oh, is things about to burn down? That's fire. Oh my. Oh yeah, ooh, there's the hunter. Me not like. I feel like we're having Sephiroth visions like in the Final Fantasy VII remake.
And find a new place for herself in this world, where she was no longer truly a princess in a tiara and a beautiful gown, but a wan woman alone in a deep and ancient wood.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is super trippy. And she's got the shotgun. Yeah, the opening of this, way different than the opening of the second chapter. Totally different tone. And the music. Her mom's pretty.
You killed me.
You killed me!
So, I'm sorry, but if I was a parent and if I was sick in the head and I was about to shoot my child, I hope somebody would kill me. I hope my own, like, someone would have stopped me, even if it meant stabbing me to death, if it meant that my child would live. I don't know. As a parent, that's what I feel. I would not be blaming my child for killing me if it was to prevent their own death, if it was to keep them from being harmed. That's just me. So the visuals are always great in these games. There's Eddie Brown. So did some time pass? It seemed like some time passed and the twins kind of took a break from each other, apart from each other for a bit. That's what I'm getting. Not sure how much time, but a note. Delos Hockey Club. The sound mixing is great too. Alright, what does the letter say? Oh yeah, I remember this. This was from the beginning, the first chapter. So we're back. Morning. I started collecting the documents you need for your rental application. Left the file for you downstairs on the kitchen counter. If you're still coming to meet Dee for lunch, you can drop off the documents and I'll make copies for you. Take it easy today, Uncle Eddie. P.S. My famous buckwheat I like that. Buckwheat waffles are slowly growing cold in the kitchen, I want to say. Cute. There's one thing also that I wanted to one really quick thing that I wanted to mention is that a lot of people also seem to be a little annoyed at Allison for not wanting to continue on with the search for the truth about the mom and the dad. And I get why, because the whole point of this game is to discover said truth, and she's like trying really hard to end the investigation and stop. But if you think about it, it makes perfect sense why she doesn't want to learn more about their dad, for example, because she has a father figure. You know, she has a father figure in Eddie. Eddie kind of just took her in under his wing, and she was able to get that parental, whatever hole needed to be filled that was left because of the absence of their biological father, and since the death of their mom, Eddie was able to fulfill that. Tyler never got that fulfillment because he was, he was in juvie, basically. So he never really got that father figure, parental figure from Eddie, for example. And therefore, it makes perfect sense why Tyler is so interested and so passionate about learning about their biological dad, because there's that hole that was never filled, that gap that was filled, which Allison was able to through Eddie. And therefore, she just wants to like move on. She wants to keep what's in the past as the past, because to her, like, you can't move forward if you keep looking back. And I 100% understand that as well. But I also understand where Tyler's coming from. So I think, again, that is another reason why I do sympathize a lot with Allison, and I think she does get a lot of flack from players who go perform this game, and I'm just proposing some extra things to think about if you haven't thought about it already and are in that same boat.
He's right. Time to get my shit together.
Yeah.
I could do my laundry. Ugh. Maybe later. There's not enough concealer in the world to erase the night I had.
Did you, like, go drinking or something?
Good to know I look just as bad as I feel.
Becky. Yep, Becky.
Wish I could just book a one-way ticket to the other side of the world. How did we go from being so alike to total opposites? I gotta think about something else.
I mean, being total opposites is not a bad thing. I feel like when you have a story where you have twins, it's expected for the twins to be exactly the same and always agreeing with each other. I really appreciate nowadays more stories about twins where they really are completely different, because I don't know, that's fresh for me and not as tropey.
Now would be a good time to stop smoking and maybe do a detox at
Yes.
12.
Smoking is not a good habit. Not a good habit to have.
I guess I'll have to start fresh with these in Juneau.
Nice. Gift stamp cards. I already read that letter.
I could use a Michael pep talk.
Okay. Yes, let's talk about Michael.
Never
So we could
imagined
talk
Uncle
about.
Eddie was hiding so many things from me.
So we could talk about Tyler, which I'm sure is a topic that Allison really wants to discuss right this moment. I think that's everything. I think. I want those waffles. That's what I want. Buckwheat. I love buckwheat. Anything.
I miss the slopes. Eddie looks so young here.
Oh, it's baby Eddie. That's so cute.
The days have gotten so short. It's gonna be a long winter.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I always want to experience being in Alaska and experiencing like virtually eternal night or virtually eternal day. Like comes a point depending on the time of year where I think you only get sometimes you only get like an hour of daylight and other times you get like only an hour of night, and it's super trippy. Wait. But I don't have Tyler.
I should
I don't
probably eat something. God, I feel so weak.
I can't do my memory thing without my brother here. It's like not a thing, I don't think.
So many months of snow boots ahead. He doesn't like this kind of attention, but he really does so much for the community.
Dear Chief Brown, thank you so much for bringing our children home safe last weekend. Without you, they might have gotten behind the wheel, and who knows what could have happened to them or anyone else. We'll always be grateful for your wisdom. Thanks again for keeping this off the books, but they are good kids who made a mistake, and Lord knows how a police record can compromise a child's future. We know they will remember your words for a long time, but please rest assured that we will do whatever we can to make sure they understand the extent of what could have occurred, so they can raise awareness among their peers in the community. God bless you, Gail and Toby Locklear, Karen and Brody Moore. I feel like police and cops and the police, as of late, have been getting a lot of flack, and I totally understand the reasons why, 100%. And it's unfortunate that the few rotten apple cops there seem to like spoil the overall image of cops and stuff, and law enforcement in general. It's a shame.
I always loved this one.
But it's a problem that does need to be addressed and does need to be fixed, but at the same time, I don't want that. I never want us to veer in the other extreme where we're always like constantly.
Eddie looked pretty concerned when I came home last night. I should have talked to him about what happened, but what the hell was I supposed to say?
Constantly believing that all cops are evil, or all cops are racist, or all cops are yada yada yada, because I don't believe that that's true for, call me an optimist, but the vast majority of cops in the police force.
I'm glad he never pushed me to change my last name.
In the Superior Court of the State of Alaska at Delos Crossing Family Court, in the matter of the protective proceeding of Allison Ronan, minor, date of birth March 7, 1984, case number 748, order appointing guardian of a minor. A hearing in this matter was held on May 10, 2005, before Judge Master J. Hernandez. Present were ex-minor, the minor's attorney, Gail Oliver, and petitioner, Mr. Edward Anthony Brown. The court finds that jurisdiction and venue, the court has jurisdiction over this matter, and venue is proper in this court as 13.2.617. Native child is not a native child within the meaning of the blah, blah, blah. The minor's tribe or native village is. Notice of the hearing. Notice of the hearing was given as required by AS 13 blah, and the probate rule 15B, or notice have been waived. Parental rights is required by AS 13 blah. The minor is not married, and all parental rights of custody have been terminated or suspended by circumstance or prior court orders follows. Deceased lone parent, father unknown, estranged family members. Consideration of minor's preferences. The minor is under age 14. Okay. So you just happen to have those out?
I can't believe Eddie never told me he was paying for fireweed.
I think that was really nice of him.
That was a good memory, even though Tyler couldn't come.
Oh, her graduation. That was nice. Oh, wait, he played the saxophone? Eddie, that is amazing. I'm a bandy, too.
A secret keeper in her secret keep. Maybe there's something in the Book of Goblins that'll help me figure this out.
The secret keeper.
Maybe there's something in the Book of Goblins that'll help me figure this out.
The secret keeper and the secret keep. Yeah, I mean, that's the secret of the keep. I mean, I think that's the one. Right to speak. The Ice King, the goblins, the muskrat, the goblins. Yeah, I mean, this is the symbol. The deep ancient forest crafted goblin spot on the secret keeper. She made her rounds, gathering up secret announcements before it's a sale. How does she keep secrets? Do you suppose she peels open their heads? Let's find out, said the goblin. So the goblins watched the secret keeper. They watched her until the stalwart moose came to her, head hanging low. It was my fault. I chose the uneven trail. I can't bear to remember. The secret keeper nodding, gazed at the stalwart moose's eyes. Though the goblins couldn't hear anything, they knew she was speaking to the moose. For the secret keeper spoke in the people's minds, the gift of the voice. After a few minutes, the stalwart moose blinked. I feel lighter, said Moose. Did I just give you something? The secret keeper nodded, handing him a coin. The stalwart moose nodded and plodded along down the trail. He spied the goblins hiding in the woods and narrowed his eyes, for he knew the goblins were often up to mischief. The two goblins whistled innocently as the moose was forced to carry on, because they were not doing anything obviously bad. I need to know what the secret was, said one of the goblins. Let's go buy it. So the goblins approached the secret keeper before she could stow away Moose's secret. We want to buy Moose's secret. What do you have to trade? Asked the secret keeper, her voice filling their minds. The goblins produced a silver-handled hairbrush they had stolen from the princess, and the secret keeper nodded, and that is how the goblins came to know that Moose's mate had tumbled down a cliffside to her death. The secret keeper moved on. The first of the goblins said, I want to know more, so the goblins followed the secret keeper, hoping to find where she hid the secrets, which is that box, I guess, that represents it. They followed to the peak of a nearby ridge and watched as she stowed the rest of the day's secrets high in the cloud. When she had gone, they climbed a high spruce tree that disappeared into the misty sky. They reached out and just managed to dip their hands into the clouds. Their heads were filled with memories, and they snatched their hands back out as if they had just thrust them in boiling water. Tears poured down their cheeks, and that was how the Secret Keeper found them crying in the tree. You stole my secrets, said the Secret Keeper. Give them back. The crafty goblins stopped crying because they saw an opportunity. What will you give us in exchange? They asked. I will give you back the silver-handled hairbrush, offered the Secret Keeper. For so many secrets, Shaw, you'll have to offer more than that. What if, said the Secret Keeper, I shared the gift of the voice? The crafty goblins grew excited. That will do. So the Secret Keeper shared the gift of the voice, and the goblins immediately found that they could hear one another's thoughts and feel each other's feelings. The crafty goblins gave back the secrets they had taken and ran back to the big wooden house. There they found the princess preparing food. They tried to peer into her mind, and they found it was blank. They tried to speak to her using only their whines, but she could not hear them. It seemed the Secret Keeper was craftier than the crafty goblins, for she only shared enough of her power to let the goblins use the gift of voice within each other and not with the whole forest. And that is how the goblins stole the gift of voice from the Secret Keeper, but why they could only use it for each other. I don't know if that... Can I flip it around?
Looks like this is coin operated.
So I need a specific coin.